Geeks with beards, geeks with beards. Look who's here, geeks with beards. No need to fear, we're right here. We got beards, so listen clear. Geeks with beards, geeks with beards. Look who's here, geeks with beards. No need to fear, we're right here. I'm in your ear, so listen clear. No one else doing it like us. Also, we just might cuss, just cause. No, we ain't playing, and we're just saying, and we're making a podcast. It's cool.
One day, you are going to lose everything you have. Nothing will prepare you for that day. Not faith, not religion, nothing. When someone you love dies, you will know emptiness. You will know what it is to be completely and utterly alone. You will never forget and never ever forgive. And welcome to today's episode of the Geeks with Beards podcast. This is our 7th episode, and this episode will be covering the 1989 comic The Crow by James Barr. And Sean, what's your connection to this comic book, man?
Probably similar to yours. I started out with the movie and then later went down and chased the comic book.
Yeah, the movie was my first introduction to it, that's for sure. Then you let me borrow the comic maybe a month back. First time I'd ever read it. Yeah, it's great, man. So what have you been into since our last episode? Reading anything different or watched anything?
Well, I started to read the new Phoenix comic and I got 2 pages in and then got busy with something else. Because this is like heavy tour season, so.
Yeah.
What about you?
I haven't watched anything different. I've been reading, got a new issue of Thundercats I read, got a new issue of Transformers. It's the best of the 11 issues so far that I've got. It's great, man. Optimus Prime and Shockwave fighting in that issue is amazing. Finally got to see Ultra Magnus. They rebuilt him. He was tortured by Shockwave for hundreds of years. Broke his mind, though. He gets rebuilt, and he tells Optimus, hey, I'm ready to go fight. He sees Shockwave. He's like, I can't do this, and runs away. So that's interesting. And then another issue of Destro, part of that Energon universe. So nothing big and different so far. And then I reread this again for our episode today. I needed to refresh my mind on that. And so, yeah. All right, we'll get into it. Sean, you got a little history for us about the comic?
So on this one, I wanted to talk about James Barr because it really affects this comic in particular more than I would say some of the other ones we've done.
Okay.
Growing up, he had a troubled childhood. His mother, I guess, either was a user or abuser or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was to the point to where he doesn't actually know his own birth date.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. He was born in a trailer, I guess, in the actual trailer.
Okay.
And his mom told the doctor, it was between these 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
That's bad, man.
So I guess something happened and he went into the foster care system.
Okay.
And he was there until he was 7. His foster parents were working class people, blue collar people, you know. He has no formal art. He was self-taught. His foster parents thought his art was a waste of time.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and then they really discouraged him doing it. They even forbade him doing it in the house.
Really?
Yeah, so he'd have to sneak off and do his art.
That's ridiculous, man.
He met a girl, and he got really close to her. He was, like, obsessed with her.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they had a perfect relationship and everything. Well, after 3 years, they were engaged. One day, she got hit by a drunk driver, killed her.
Yeah.
She's the main inspiration for Shelley in the comic. Like, she's drawn exactly like his girlfriend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason he started this comic is because he wanted to do something, you know, like therapeutic
Definitely.
to try to work through it.
Yeah.
He worked in a body shop for a long time.
Oh.
And that's,
gotcha.
yeah, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
During the body shop time, he was kind of starting to, you know, draw some different things. And then he was talking to a comic store owner, and he was designing T-shirts for him at one point.
Okay.
And the comic store owner's like, you know what? I want to start my own publishing company. Would you want to do something for it? He's like, well, yeah, that'd be cool.
Hell yeah.
He goes, you got anything? And he brought him some of this, which he actually started in 1981.
Wow.
And he didn't get done with it until 1988.
88, wow. 7 years.
So he worked on this for 7 years.
I mean, but it's so personal to him. I can understand it taking that time.
Yeah.
I would assume he wanted to get it as perfect as he could probably.
Yeah, well, and it took so much out of him, I would
Oh
imagine.
God, I can't imagine losing a loss like that. No.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, all right, so they started Caliber Comics that way.
Okay.
And his first appearance was in Caliber Presents #1. And it was just like 8 pages of it.
Okay. Was it like at the back of the comic?
No, it was the second story in that comic.
Second story in there.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
like 4 different stories, and it's kind of like the old Marvel.
Yeah, it has just different characters that it's
Yeah,
presenting to be. Maybe it's going to get their own books down the line or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
like
yeah.
Amazing Fantasy or something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Cool.
He wasn't like a real big comic kid
Mm.
because they were real poor anyway.
Right. Right.
So any comics he did get, he'd save his lunch money all week just to
Okay.
go buy it.
Cool.
He didn't like the big tier comics. He only liked like the monster ones, the creepy ones, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Tales from the Crypt, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff that like looked appealing and stuff. At one point, he was doing record interviews for Spin Magazine.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so he's really into music, and as we go through this, I'll show you a couple references.
Sure.
To the point like that, I can go ahead and tell you this: Eric is designed with Iggy Pop's body,
Yeah.
and
You can tell that. Yeah.
yeah,
If anybody out there knows what Iggy Pop looked like, yeah, you can definitely tell that for sure.
and a guy named Peter Murphy is where he got the head.
Okay.
From.
Okay.
Everything in the book is real places, and everything's based on people he knows. The names he took a lot from like graffiti, because he grew up in Detroit.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Yeah.
because I know in the movie it didn't really say, but in the comic you definitely know that it's Detroit for sure.
Yes. And as far as the way he was writing this comic, he wrote it like thinking from the eyepiece of a camera, like he was looking through a camera when he was actually creating the whole thing.
Okay.
So that's why it adapted so well to the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And he actually hasn't done that many projects. He's only done like 3. He mostly does like covers and stuff when he did do.
Oh,
So-
so has he done other things besides the Crow related?
He's done a couple of things.
Okay.
Nothing major,
Okay.
but it's mostly been covered.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, the artwork's amazing to me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to his foster parents, but you were wrong.
They were seriously wrong.
His artwork is amazing.
People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes, something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul can't rest. Then sometimes, just sometimes, the crow can bring that soul back to put the wrong things right.
Well, the comic opens up with a character here with a Toshiba. I think it's a VCR, I believe. And he's hawking it. And he's basically kind of talking down to the people. He's like, well, these people ain't got money to feed their kids. They own a Toshiba. And but he gets scared. He's coming out of the alleyway. He gets scared. A little tricycle comes up in his way. He's like, Jesus Christ. And it's Eric, the crow. It's Eric. And he's like, do I have your attention, Mr. Jones? And he's basically interrogating him, wanting to know where Tom Tom, Top Dollar, Fun Boy, 1010, he wants to know where all the guys are at. He's hunting them down one at a time. Tells him, he's like, I was told that you would know where the guys would be located at. Mr. Jones basically, first he tries to stab him. He's like, dude, you cost me money. Give me money. You broke the Toshiba. He stabs Eric. Of course, Eric just pulls a knife right out, licks the blood off of the blade.
Yeah.
Licks the blood. He's like, I know pain at the molecular level. Mr. Jones, he just starts quivering. He's like, I don't want to die. And Eric's basically like, oh, I'm not going to kill you. He's like, I'm not going to kill you. He said, but I want to know where they are. And he says, T-Bird and the others. He's like, where are they? He said, Shelby, the giant, didn't know, but he said you would know. And he's like, Shelby wouldn't turn on me. And he said, oh, he did after I took a few fingers. And he's got a wire cutters in his hand. He's showing Mr. Jones here. He's like, after a few fingers, oh yeah, he started. He's like, no, you're lying. You're lying. He's like, fingers or toes? Which one you want to lose? Finger. He's like, oh God, okay. He said, I seen T-Bird and I seen 1010. He said, I ain't seen him in weeks. He said, but Tom Tom's down on Grady, how you pronounce that? Gratiot and 10. He says, Top has a place at the Hotel Reno in Schaefer. He said, Fun Boy's in the county till the 27th. He's like, you going to kill me now? He's like, he said, I already count you among the dead.
So he's like a vigilante, like he's on a mission.
He is.
Pretty much.
He's on a mission. I mean, he's looking for these guys, and you'll find out here in a little bit why he's looking for these guys. Looks up at the street light, and he says, look at the full moon. That's a street light. He said, you crazy, man. He said, "Tell them I'm coming, Mr. Jones." And then he grabs him by the head and he walks away. He asks him a question. He says, "Mr. Jones, are there spots in leopard eyes also?" And then what I think is cool about this comic is we have these poems
Yeah.
by various different people. I don't know these people, unfortunately. But they're beautiful little poems, and they're spread throughout the comic book. Unfortunately, I'm not going to take time to read them. They're a little lengthy. But if you have the comic, you can look it up online. They're really beautiful. The poems are. And we turn the page, and we have what I guess is him going to purgatory, I guess, after he'd been killed. Or it's a dream sequence, maybe. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's a mix between the dream sequence and a flashback.
Okay. He's on a train. Looks out the window and he sees a white horse running in the fields. He's following the train, and you see a barbed wire fence. The horse gets caught up in the barbed wire fence, and Eric is watching it, and it keeps getting tangled. As it's fighting to get free, it keeps getting tangled. And Eric keeps watching it, and he starts shedding a tear. It makes him sad to see this horse get caught in the barbed wire fence. And then there's a crow shows up. He's like, "Shouldn't have looked, boy. You shouldn't have looked." And then Skeleton Man shows up, and he's like, "Tickets, please."
I will stop you here.
Yes.
All right, so according to James Barr, the crow's not real. He's not real.
Okay.
They're parts of his personality.
Parts of his personality.
That's why he's talking to him.
Well, there are moments that we'll touch on here in a minute later in the book that you'll see one panel of the crow's on his shoulder, and it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Fight Club thing.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay. Gotcha.
And I should also mention this art here. It's like a watercolor type.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
You can definitely see the watercolor stuff, especially on the close-up of Eric's face with his eyes.
Yes.
And the horse, for
The
sure.
horse.
Yeah. Now, it's not all water. Now, you can definitely tell it's not all watercolor throughout the comic, but this part is for sure, though, yeah.
I think it's just during, like you said, that dream
flashback stuff, yeah.
Scene.
Now we're getting to actually book 1, titled Pain. And we see Eric, he's walking down the streets here. We see some buildings behind us, some neon signs. He's walking. Well, he's got a jacket on. He's got a long coat on. Then it shows him he's got back home at his house, and it's his home. His and Shelley's home. We'll find out later on. And he goes back there from time to time. And after he gets done taking care of the trash, he'll go back to the home and kind of reflect. Then we meet up here with Tintin, little Mr. O Tintin, and he's got a couple other fellers he's run into, Ratso. And he's going to buy a gun off these guys. And he's telling Ratso, he's like, "Hey, did you bring it? Did you bring it, Ratso?" And Ratso's little buddy that's with him, he's like, "Hey," he's like, "It's a good gun, 38. You can't be traced, man." He's like, "It's hot from the east side." Tintins won't know how much it is. And the other guy, they just keep talking back and forth. Ratso says, $100. Give me $100, it's all yours. Tintin said, "Let's test it out. Let's see what happens." Shoots an old lady across the street, right out in the open.
That's brutal, man.
Just shoots it, and Ratso and his little buddy's like, "Man, you crazy." He's like, "What the hell are you doing? You can't do that. You're going to have the law down here on us." Tintin opens fire, kills Ratso and his little buddy. Kills him.
This is a very mature comic.
Definitely mature comic. If you've only seen the film, then it is light on the violence compared to the comic book, for sure. But yeah, so Tintin guns down Ratso and his little buddy. Didn't pay them nothing for the gun. And you find out, well, you don't really find out, but it gives you a little bit of background on the characters here real quick, and I'm going to go through it real fast. It says, Fat Eddie's brother overdosed on junk when Eddie was 10. He swore he'd never that direction, but when the city drops into the night, things so very wrong seem oh so right. Then the older lady that got killed, her name was B. She was just pantomiming her life, counting days between pension checks and Valium refills. She'll be buried in the county cemetery, and her prize cat, Gabriel, will be thrown in the street by an uncaring landlord.
I didn't realize this. Okay.
Yeah, Gabriel, yeah. Ratso was born in the ghetto. Housing standards plummeted. In the city where flesh, Ratso would be a boil. Tintin slipped into the alley. A cat through a side door. His soul so twisted with evil, he could only have drifted off a Bosch painting. And then we see he's run into Eric. Eric's found Tintin. He's like, "Hello, you remember me, Tintin?" And it says here it's a chilly October night. But Tintin is flush with heat. Tintin don't know who it is. None of them know who he is in the very beginning until he explains it. And Tintin's like, "Remember?" He's like, "No." He's like, "What y'all painted up for, boy? A funeral march?" Eric says that. He says a funeral march. Tintin looks back at him and says, "Yeah, your own." He blasts Eric in the head. Eric's got a hidden gun in his pocket. Shoots 1010 right through his forearm. Blows a hunk out of his forearm. 1010, he's falling to the ground. He asked me, he's like, "Who are you?" Eric, one thing I like about this too is Eric, almost before he kills every one of them, he's like, he's reciting a poem to him.
Yeah.
He's reciting verses to him.
It's very, because James Barr was such a big music fan, I think that's what he was kind of writing to, is to the lyrics.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful that when he recites to him like it, and each one's different. Each one of them is different when he says, yeah. And Eric tells him, he says, "A year ago, a cold October night, a broken down car on a dirt road, a man, a girl, madness, pain, and shadows." And then 1010 remembers, he looks at him, he's like, you. And he's like, "T-Bird said you was dead." And then we see a crow. "Don't look, don't look." And of course, you're getting flashbacks as he's confronting each person. You get flashbacks throughout the book.
His time with Shelley.
Of his time, of his time with Shelley, yeah, for sure. Then 1010, he's spilling his guts. He's like, "T-Bird done it. He had the gun." Eric asked him, he says, "And the girl?" "Man, she was out cold by the time I got to her." And then we have these little flashbacks of Shelley talking to Eric and them spending time together. "Oh, you're just so funny, wise ass. I happen to think it looks very nice," talking about the masks that she had hung on the wall in the house that day.
And those masks have meaning. It's like, there's those decoration masks you see. They used to be really popular, like in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, that'll come into play into a lot of things.
One's an angry face, one's a smiley face, and then one's a sad face.
It
had to do with plays and stuff, I believe.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we keep seeing more flashbacks. He's got a gun to 1010's head, and 1010 just keeps, going back and forth with him. And he says, "I got connections. I can fix you up." Boom. Blows 1010's head off. Bullet right through it. Eric looks down at him. "May God grant you the mercy that I cannot." And so one's down, a few more to go. And then we go back to the house. Eric's looking through some pictures of him and Shelley together. More flashbacks to me, I think it is.
Yeah.
And is he looking out a window? Or I don't know if that's fencing, because it almost looks like barbed wire. But
that does look like barbed wire.
It does, yeah. I'm not for sure if it is or if it's him looking out the window. I don't know. But he's looking out a window and you see some woods or dead trees, and you see a female form standing there, and he's looking at it. And then it turns to face you, the reader, and it's a skeleton face. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that's supposed to be Shelley.
That makes sense.
What I'm taking from it.
Yeah, with the blonde, or the hair,
with the hair, yeah. Yeah, there we go. Got confirmation, barbed wire right there, yeah. Crow, and we see it's another flashback of Eric laying on the ground and the crow standing at his face. He's like, "Don't look, Eric. Don't look." And then we see that Eric has tied a shell casing in his hair. And number 1, he says. So every time he kills one of these guys, he puts the bullet casing, he'll put a bullet casing in his hair like that as a kind of a countdown kind of thing of how many more he's got left.
A memento.
Yeah, exactly. A memento, yeah.
A badge.
A badge, yeah. Then we come upon a meeting of gang members here in this bar, and we finally get to meet Top Dollar. They're talking about what happened to 1010, that he got killed, and they're telling Top Dollar's like, "Look, man, you need to work on, this is your responsibility. These are your streets." He's like, "What are you going to do about it?" Top Dollar's looking at these guys like, "Are you trying to tell me what to do?" It's like, "I'm the boss of these streets. These are my streets. These are my drugs. These are my weapons." And he's like, "This is my stuff." He said, "You don't tell me what to do." He said, "This is my neighborhood." He's like, "My word is law." And they're just arguing back and forth. Eric sitting out on the ledge outside the window. Somebody's like, "Somebody's out there. Something's moving out there." Eric's just chilling there for a second. Somebody sticks her head out the window. Boom. It's Santa Claus.
That was a good line.
Blows her head off, jumps inside the bar. He's unloading on everybody. He's killing them all. Boom, 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 left and right. Bullets going into their heads.
It's a massacre.
Oh, dude, it's all over the place.
Bloodbath.
I guess it is what they done in the film with him and Top Dollar and all the members in that big room.
Yeah.
But this version, it's in a bar, basically, like a little bar. And so, yeah, Top Dollar's just screaming. It's like, "Shoot him." He's like, "Shoot him already." He's like, "Damn." He's like, "He's not hard to miss. He's right there. Kill him." And Eric's just wiping them out, one after the other. And he leaves Top Dollar for last. Top Dollar looks at him like, you mother. Eric kind of kicks him, knocks him down. He starts laughing. And there's one dude left under the table that he only shot in the arm. He goes for the gun, and Eric takes him out. Boom, blows his head. Bullet right through his head. You see the blood splatter on a wall outlet. And on one left is Top Dollar. You see the smoking gun. He goes to Top Dollar. He starts talking to Top Dollar. He jumps up on the table. He's like, do you remember? Look close, Top. A man and a girl. Top's like, look, man, I don't know what this is about, but if I did you wrong, he's like, I'll fix it. He's like, there's $5,000. Take the $5,000. There's at least $10,000 worth of dope right here. $15,000. It's all yours. Let me live and just take it, man. Just take it.
He's trying to barter with him.
Yeah, he's trying to barter with him.
He doesn't know who he is.
He has no idea. Yeah, Eric's like, you would barter your life with chemicals? And then that's when Top gets pissed. He's like, man, I can't believe you $15,000 and you're just going to fuck it away. You're not even going to worry about it. You don't care about it.
And that's the equivalent of like $40,000 right now.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so Eric, he tells him again, just like he did 1010. He says a girl, he said her name was Shelly. He's like, it started to rain. Do you remember now? Top Dollar, he just keeps going back at him. He's like, you ain't even listening. He's like, come on, man. He's like, you are worthless. He's like, yeah, I remember. He's like, the Quran, the broad, so what? Boom.
So I guess that's his point, is just to make them remember who she was and then kill him.
Then kill him, yeah. Because I'm guessing these guys are just garbage and they just kill and do whatever they want to the point they don't remember. Yeah. They don't remember who they've killed, who they've hurt.
They don't care.
They don't care. It's fun for them. Mm-hmm. So Eric shoots him once. Shoots him in the eye. Shoots him in the left eye. You think it would kill Top. No, it don't kill Top yet. And Top looks at him. He's like, you can go to hell. Eric looks at him. He's like, I've been waiting for a guy to take me by the hand. Boom. Shoots Top again. This time he kills him. Blood splatter all over the wall behind him. Top laying down on the floor. And then we see a lady in the apartment building. She's talking to the police officer. She's like, I heard these big boots going clunk, clunk, clunk down the hall. And I look out. I thought it was them damn hoodlums again. But she's like, no, it was a 7-foot vampire. Looked like Dracula or something, just floating down the hall. And she said, the weird thing is, all the cats in the building were following him. And she said, I didn't know if he was a ghost or what. And she said, then he turned to me and smiled and said, evening, ma'am. And he left and walked away.
He could have easily been called Catman.
He could have been called Catman, yeah.
Just by his look and his love of the felines.
The cat thing I found interesting because I don't get it explained. I understand Gabriel. Mm-hmm. That was the cat that he was giving Shelley for a Christmas present. But all the other ones, I never really grasped that.
I think it's just because
to him.
Cats are evil, so
maybe. I always did say cats
they just gravitate towards other evil things.
I always did say cats were the devil, that pet. So,
yeah.
So Eric, we see here, he's got a cat on his shoulder. It looks like he's got a little bit of crow paint around its eyes.
It does, don't it?
It does, yeah. I think James is just like, I'm going to put a little paint around its eyes. So, he's got the cat on his shoulder. He's got him a bottle of Dom Perignon, and he's got him a dozen roses, and he's walking down the street. And the next page this is a really nice part. This is a flashback. I'm going to go through this one a little bit. He says, I have a present for you, Shelley. He's like, his name's Gabriel. You always said you wanted a cat. He's like, and then, of course, it's going back and forth between present time and the flashback. And he's sitting there by himself in front of the fireplace with candles lit, and Gabriel sitting in his lap. And he says, happy anniversary, Shelley. And Gabriel is meowing and purring in his lap. And then we go to the flashback, and they're painting the house, painting the interior. Shelley's giving him some shit. She's like, okay. She's like, we've been here for a little while. It's like, when you going to make me a decent woman? He's like, huh? Marriage. He's like, hey. He's like, hey, honey, you missed a spot. Don't change the subject.
He's got some good humor in these. You wouldn't think so with it being so dark.
It does. And this helps you realize the closeness that Eric and Shelley had, the love that they felt for each other. And he's like, marriage. He's like, that's all I hear is marriage. And she's like, yeah. She's like, well, so, and she's like, yeah, so what? And he's like, well, and he said, what if I don't? She's like, I'll cut you off. He's like, well, will this get me back on your good side? And he's got the engagement ring. She looks at him. She's like, oh, you got me a ring. She tackles him, knocks him down, paint goes everywhere, puts the ring on, and she's like, we're getting married, we're getting married. And he's like, if I survive this.
She's excited.
She is. And then below we see Eric by himself. He's huddled in a corner because he's remembering all these happy moments, but it makes him sad when he has to remember them like that. And I love this.
Yeah.
This piece of art right here with Shelley looking out the window and you see it from the hallway.
This looks like a very artistic piece.
It does.
And I will say that, I don't know if we said it or not, but this comic's in black and white.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is in black and white, yes.
But every single section is different from the other, and that's so cool because it makes it feel like a different, like a journey.
It does. It does. Each it progresses different art as it goes along like that. And
So many different styles.
And here we go with the watercolors again. God, this is beautiful. Of Shelley and Eric together, and you see Eric hugging Shelley, and here's the crow. Eric, hey, Eric, you don't want to see this again, boy. Let's go.
It's trying to keep him from remembering.
It is. Throughout the whole book, the crow is trying to tell him, don't remember. Just let it go. Don't remember. Now the eternal love part. Click. Idiot. Boom.
So it's a gunshot.
Gunshot to Shelley's head as Eric is holding on to her leg. Crow's like, never listen. And then Eric is holding Shelley in his arms. He's crying. And then you see who shot the shot. In this flashback, or it's dream, I guess you want to call it. It's the Skeleton Man. Now, what is his official name? I hate to keep calling him Skeleton Man. Did he have an official name? I don't remember it saying in the comic here, unless I've missed it. I don't remember it saying in the comic book.
Skull Cowboy is what James Barr.
Skull Cowboy. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Skull Cowboy is the one holding the smoking gun in this flashback scene when he shot Shelley in the head, and you see the crow. He's like, nice suit, eh, kid? And of course, Eric, you see now in present time, Eric is just bawling, pounding his fist against the wall. And it says, Eric screams and pounds his head against the wall until the phantom fire trucks race across his vision. All he wants is pain and hate. Yes, hate, but never fear. Fear is for the enemy. Fear and bullets. And then we see this scene where it's he's dancing. It's like ballet. To me, it looks like ballet, I guess.
I think it's like...
or interpretive dance.
If you've ever watched Iggy Pop, we referenced him earlier.
Yes, we did, yeah.
That's kind of like his style of dancing.
Okay.
Like when he's on stage and stuff.
Okay. So, yeah, Eric is doing his dancing. He's like 60, and he's doing push-ups and stuff as well. He's exercising, basically. He's working out.
Yeah.
He's like 63, 64, 65. Here's Gabriel, and he looks down at Gabriel. Gabriel, have you ever seen Seven Samurai? So now we run into Skank and Tom Tom. Now, Tom Tom was not in the film. If he was, he might have been renamed, but he's only mentioned in the comic that I remember. I don't remember his name being in the film. In the film, I know Tintin, Skank, T-Bird, Funboy, and Top Dollar.
Okay.
I don't remember Tony Todd's character's name. I don't think it was Tom Tom, but I don't remember his character's name, unfortunately. And I know Bai Ling's was not Tom Tom. I know her name was Micah, if I'm not mistaken. So we meet up with Skank and Tom Tom, and they are attacking a poor feller that works at a convenience store. They're beating him up because he was talking to Officer Davies, and they think he was basically telling on them, squealing on them, I guess, basically. And they looking at him, they're being mean to him. They're saying all kinds of mean things to him. They're like, look, just because you got the Down syndrome don't mean you're going to get a bye on this one. He's like, we believe you squealed to Officer Davies. Like, we're going to have to cut you for it. And Skank looks at me, he's like, I love when they beg. And he's like, no, I swear I didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing. He just bought a newspaper. That's all he did. Skank stabs him. Tom Tom looks at him. He's like, you enjoy this, don't you? Like, you like it. Like I said, in the movie, Skank is...
It's like the weakest of them all.
He is the weakest of them all. Like, you don't think he'd have... But in the flashback, he is doing the same garbage that all the rest of them did. But current Skank is chicken. He's a chicken shit.
Yeah.
But in the comic... He's sadistic. He's really
worst.
sadistic, yeah. So they kill the little fella, unfortunately. Oh, go ahead, man.
No, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
This Dead Souls.
Yes.
That's what I want to talk about that after we get done.
Of course. So they've killed the store attendant. Unfortunately, the little fella didn't make it. They stabbed him to death. So they're all set. Then him and Skank and Tom Tom are sitting there talking. And this is when Tom Tom looks at him and is like, you really get off on this, don't you? He's like, yeah, gets my blood pumping. kind of makes you lose your head, huh? Swoosh. Eric has cut Skank's head off. Decapitation with a samurai sword. Tom Tom looks around. He's like, what the hell? He's like, oh God, oh Jesus. Eric looks at him. Hello, Tom Tom. And he cuts the light off, so it's all in the dark now. Tom Tom just starts firing his gun off in all different directions. Like, oh, I think I got him. And then Eric looks at me. He's like, let me tell you a joke. Jesus Christ walks into a hotel. He hands the innkeeper 3 nails and asks, can you put me up for the night?
They put that in the movie.
They did put that in the movie. So Tom Tom is still, he's looking around. It's still pitch black. He can't see anything. Eric looks at him. He's like, watch your step, Tom Tom. Whack. Cuts him off at the shins.
Jeez.
So then he clicks the light back. And apparently there was 2 lights because he cut one in half. There's another light. Eric cuts the light back on. You see Skank headless laying on the floor. The other guy that they stabbed to death, and Tom Tom, he's leaned up against the wall with his feet cut off, bleeding out. And Eric sits down to him. He's like, do you remember me? Tom Tom, he just keeps talking about his feet. He's like, those are my boots. He's like, my feet are cold. Can I have my boots? Eric looks at him. He's like, Tom Tom, he said, a year ago, you helped kill a man and a woman. There was no money, but you took a ring she had on. Do you remember? A ring? Ring. Yeah, man. And a woman. You're him, aren't you? But I saw you die. He says, as you see your own death before you now? He's like, T-Bird was on top of her. She was screaming and crying. I wanted her to shut up. He's like, I kicked her. I kicked her in the head till she stopped screaming. He said her face was bloody. And he said, then T-Bird shot her. He shot her in the head and blood splashed all over my pants. Eric looks at him. You'll be asleep in a minute, Tom Tom. Where's the ring? The ring. The ring, yeah. T-Bird always sells that stuff down at Gideon's Pond. I'm cold. Can I sleep now? Eric looks at him. Sleep. And then before he leaves, he looks at Tom Tom and he says, how wonderful is death. Death and his brother sleep.
So he basically just
He bled
him to death.
Yeah, he bled out. As he was questioning about where Shelley's engagement ring was and reminding him again who he is and what he done. Yeah, he's bleeding out. So then we get to Gideon's pawn shop, one of my favorite scenes in the film. I hate to keep going back and forth, but it's one of my great. This is a great scene too. I think it was a little bit better here, I think, than it was in the movie in a way.
I think so too.
Gideon's counting his money. He's counting. He's like Christ. He's like freaking Ratso pimped me for $40 again. That lousy scum. Knock knock knock. Hey, piss off. I'm closed. Knock knock knock. Don't you hear well, dirtbag? I'm closed. Boom! Eric busts through the front door. He's like, why you friggin' punk? Mr. Gideon, I believe you have something of mine. And it's cool. Barr put so much detail into this pawn shop. You see all kinds of different stuff, records and vases and watches and all that stuff like that. Like, he put a lot of detail. Guitars.
His attention to detail is on some of the best.
Guns, everything.
And you notice there's not like all the Edgar Allan Poe quotes that are in the movie?
No.
It's because he wasn't really a fan of Poe.
Oh, so now was this the movie people that wanted to put that in there? Was Proyas?
Yeah, it was the movie
the
people.
Director and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't against it. It just wasn't like one of his influences.
I like it, though.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I like it for sure, yeah. So Eric looks at him. He's like, I'm looking for a girl's ring. You're looking for a coroner, pal. And he's pointing the gun at Eric's head. He's like, an engagement ring. I'm counting on 3. I'm going to blow your head all over the wall. Mr. Gideon, you're not paying attention. Smacks a gun out of his hand, stabs his hand with a big old Rambo-looking knife. He's like, T-Bird sold you the ring 1 year ago. Gideon's like, one moment, please. He's like, almost everything T-Bird brought me is in this box. Eric looks at it. It's full of jewelry, engagement rings, watches, all kinds of things. Eric looks at it, he's like, my God. Searching through it, he's like, Shelley. And then in the background, Gideon's trying to pull the knife out of his hand. He's like, son of a God, mother. And Eric's throwing each ring. He's like, nope. And then he finds the ring. And just as he finds the ring, Gideon pulls the knife out. Gideon looks over the counter and was like, surprise, surprise. He's like, look what I got for you, punk. He's got a revolver. Eric looks up at him. He's like, why, Mr. Gideon, you've completely forgotten about your Walther. boom, 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 boom. Shoots Gideon like 5 times. Instead of in the film where he lets him live,
Right, yeah.
he kills Gideon. Actually, I think I like this better. Gideon deserved to die just as much as everybody else did. Granted, he does die in the film, but I believe he should have died at Eric's hands, like he does in the comic book. Because he perpetuates what Top Dollar, or not Top Dollar, but T-Bird and them do, because he pays them for the stuff that they steal from people that they either murder or rob or both.
Yep, it's blood money.
It is. It's blood money. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. So you just see in the next panel, you see Eric standing there with the gun in his hand, and you see blood just pouring.
That's cool looking blood.
Oh,
too.
it's almost like a frame, a TV screen frame, like it's coming down, which could be. He ejects the magazine out of the gun. He's like, so much for the single bullet theory. And there's blood on record players. There's blood on a Gibson guitar. Eric's like, well, Mr. Gideon, I see you have a large cache of assault weapons. Mind if I borrow a few of them? I didn't think so.
It's like, I'll just take these.
I'll just take these. He's like, oh, wait, is that a kerosene heater I smell? Next page over, Eric is picking up some weapons, grabs a gallon container of kerosene, just starts splashing the kerosene in places, puts a lit cigarette right on the edge of the lid of the kerosene heater.
It's like a fuse.
Yeah, it is. Here comes Professor Albrecht. Now, this Professor Albrecht is definitely different from the film.
Was it the same name?
Yes, Albrecht. I think it's Albrecht. Is that how you say it?
That's Ernie Hudson's character?
Ernie Hudson's character, yes. Because his commanding officer in the comic calls him Albright. He has to correct him. He's like, no, it's Albrecht, not Albright. So Albrecht comes in. He's like, freeze. Eric looks at him and is like, go away, boy. He's like, you don't need to be here.
That's kind of racist. Knowing it now.
It's hard to tell in the comic book here.
Well,
He looks Caucasian.
Well, this guy's Caucasian, but there's a African-American guy later on, a cop. So I wonder if they just combined them.
I think they did.
All right.
Because the other cop that we'll see later, well, we'll get to it here in a moment.
Okay.
Officer Albrecht sees Gideon laying on the floor dead. He's like, what happened to him? Eric looks at him with a smile. Lead poisoning?
Oh, well.
You're under arrest. Look at me, boy. Put your gun away. Bullets don't stop me. Knives don't hurt me. Look at me. A little bit of Joker there.
Well.
Look at me.
I think Heath Ledger took a little bit from
Yeah, I
it.
think so, man. He's like, I am pilot error. I am fetal distress. I am the random chromosome. I am complete and total madness. I am fear.
We should mention each one of these issues are like, when they were individual issues, they're based off emotions.
Yes.
And the one we're on right now is called Fear.
Yes. And the first one was pain.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So again, Albrecht still got him at gunpoint. He's still telling him, like, please, just put the weapons down. You're under arrest. He's like, Officer Albrecht, I'm going through that doorway. He's like, I'm not going to hurt you, but I am going to leave. He's like, so shoot if you will. Leans his head right into the barrel of the gun. He's like, my gun, it could go off. And he's like, what should I say? He said, what should I say happened here? He's like, tell Sergeant Hook, the Crow sends his regards, and it ends tomorrow night. Oh, and by the way, I set a bomb in the back. You got about 2 minutes to get out of here.
Just so you know.
Albert's like, a bomb? Eric turns around and looks at him. Have a nice life, son.
Yeah.
But bomb? Did you say a bomb? He's like, Gideon. And then he throws up a little bit because he gets upset. And he's like, I'm out of here. As soon as he gets out the door, he gets on the phone to call his superior officer. Boom! Gideon's pawn shop blows up. And then we see a picture of Captain Hook sitting at his desk where he's on the phone with him. And a little sign says say yes to Michigan. So there, if you didn't know, it was, Detroit. There you go.
Yep.
Next panel over, we see Captain Hook. He goes to a file cabinet. And he opens, it's lettered, as a lot of people know, A to B, C to D, and continuously. Okay, he opens the C to D, pulls out Eric. You see Eric's name. I know old Barr didn't give him last names, but
It's kind of too coincidental.
Yeah, because I was rereading this. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the D drawer, and Eric's file's in the D drawer. So Captain Hook pulls Eric's file. He pulls it out of the file cabinet, and he throws it in the trash. And he says, perhaps God has some wisdom after all. So he knew who the crow was just by. That's why he asked Albert
Just
by the description.
That makes sense.
6'5", black. So yeah, I think they combined Captain Hook and Albert
That
from the
makes
comics
sense.
just into Albert because his superior officer in the movie is an asshole.
Oh yeah.
What little screen time he's got, he's an asshole, man. So Eric is he's going after Fun Boy next, I believe. You see Eric, he's got the weapons. He's got a bag in his hand. He's got a rifle on his back. Rise and shine, Fun Boy. I've got some serious gifts for you. Next page over, some more of that beautiful watercolor. Again, actually this one is from Robert Smith of The Cure. It says on this one, The Hanging Garden. And it's another beautiful poem. And this next page, and I like this page right here. It shows Eric. He's got like a short leather jacket. Looks like he's got like black leather gloves, like he's looking up at you, the reader. I love that scene. That's a great one.
Looks like a 80s like punk rock star.
It does, for sure. Yeah. I mean, well, it was 89, so yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we see a cat playing with a Christmas ornament. Eric looks over at him and is like, what you got there, Gabriel? And he looks at it and he sees the Christmas ornament. And then we get to another flashback, Christmas time. Shelley says, won't Eric be surprised? Eric says, won't Shelley be surprised? And they start kissing, and
It's a very lovey-dovey kind of
very
Christmas moment.
very lovey-dovey in front of the Christmas tree, and they're talking to each other, telling each other how much they love each other. They'll never separate. They'll never be apart. You see Eric has got a little angel that would be putting on top of the Christmas tree. You see the little ornament, it falls to the ground and goes clink, clink, clink. Eric is sitting there thinking about the memory. He's got tears in his eyes. He's like, Shelley, I love you so much. And then he looks at Gabriel. He's like, go away, cat. He's like, you make me smile too much.
So the relationship is really what drives the story.
It is. It's a strong relationship. If you don't feel something for these characters by this time, but really within the first book, your soul ain't right. I'm sorry. If you cannot tell that these characters are in deep love with each other, your soul ain't right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not difficult to realize how much these characters love each other.
Yeah.
Next page, we see more buildings. Beautiful. Again, Barr's artwork, man. It's just, I love the buildings, stuff like that. And I told you, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Eastman and Laird's TMNT from 1984 with the artwork and everything.
Well, that's the thing. Like he does so many different styles.
He does.
That does look like a Eastman and Laird, which he was drawing this the same time they were doing comics.
I was getting ready to say this is only came out 5 years after their first issue came out in '84. This was '89, so. Mm-hmm. So we see Eric walking down the sidewalk. A little girl sitting on the steps of a building. He stops. She says, hey, mister, are you a clown? He's like, well, I might be. He's like, may I sit with you for a moment, princess? Sure, I'm just waiting for my ma. He's like, where might your mother be? Ugly Patrick didn't have no medicine, so Ma went up to see Mr. Funboy. I'm here for Funboy, too. He's like, what's your name, little angel? Sherry. That's very pretty. I knew a girl named Shelley once. She's gone to heaven now, though. Sometimes I think I'm bad and God has sent me to hell. This isn't hell, but you can see it from here. Now, Sherry is, in the movie, she was changed to Sarah.
Right.
I think maybe because audiences might have got Shelley mixed up, maybe because they're just slightly similar. I think maybe.
That makes sense, but that was the whole point of this panel, is because they did sound so similar, and
they did. Yeah.
It drew his memory back to her.
Yeah. And Sherry, she's still sitting there. She's talking. She's like, how come it hurts so much, mister? And bless her, she's sitting here barefoot. She's got bruised eye, little scrapes on her face. And Eric looks at her. He's like, I don't know. I don't know why it hurts so much. He's like, hey, I got a present for you. He's like, it was Shelley's, but I think she'd like for you to have it. And he gives her the engagement ring on a necklace, puts it around her neck. Sherry looks at him. She's like, geez, mister, nobody never give me nothing before. And then Eric looks at her. He's like, I'll go fetch your mother now, honey. You coming back, mister? Please? We'll be together again, Sherry. I promise.
This is like the ghetto where she's living.
Yeah. So Funboy's next. He's going to get Funboy. He's going to get Sherry's mom. So he's walking. And as he's walking up the steps to go to Funboy's apartment room, boom, kicks in Funboy's door. Well, hello there, Funboy. Who the hell do you think you are?
Funboy's there with what's her name?
Sherry's mom. I forgot her name.
Bed.
I forgot her name. They said it in the movie. I forgot her name.
Yeah, they may say it in here too.
May do, yeah. He's like, shut your mouth, pain junkie. I haven't asked you anything. He's like, hey, if Raphael sent you to collect, he says, to collect you, can tell him for me. He's like, Eric looks at him and says, are the bones of your sins sharp enough to cut through your own excuses? He's like, man, you best turn around and leave right now. He's like, before something really bad happens. And Sherry's mom, she's like, he's scaring me. And then you can see cats are starting to build up on the steps in shadow. You see there's 3 cats on the steps right now. And here's the crow on Eric's shoulder. Eric's talking to him. He's like, there's a gun. Oh, sorry. The crow's telling him this. I didn't think about that. The crow's telling him this. There's a gun under his pillow. Eric, I'll kill you before you even touch the gun, fun boy. Eric looks at Sherry's mom. He's like, get dressed, miss. He said, before the space between us turns into tigers. Sandy. Get out, Sandy.
Sandy's her name.
Yeah. Fun boy tells her, he's like, get out of here. I'll take care of this joker. Eric touches her head. He's like, come here, girl. She's like, I'm scared. Eric looks at her. He's like, go from this place, Sandy, before he sucks all the light from your eyes. Sherry is waiting. Mother is the name for God in the lips and hearts of all children. Do you understand? I have some friends outside to escort you down. We got like 6 cats now.
The cats are gathering.
The cats are gathering. The cats are going to take Sandy out of the building. So she leaves. It's just Eric and Fun Boy. The crow tells Eric, track marks and yellow eyes. He's definitely a junkie, but his teeth aren't gray and his skin's clean. Probably morphine.
Yep.
He's like, you going to lecture me or what? Eric looks at him, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Then Fun Boy's like, what? Dude, you're crazy, ghost man. He's like, you the one that done 1010 and Sanchez. I heard Tom Tom ain't saying much either. He's like, man, I was there when T-Bird shot you dead square in the back of the head. Twice. Christ, the gun was so close your hair started on fire. Eric looks at him, and I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. I saw the blood of Christ on their skins.
Was he sitting in a chair when he was
Eric,
saying all this stuff?
Yeah, he was sitting backwards in a chair.
Okay.
Looking at him, yeah. To where in the film, he's just standing, he's standing in front of him.
No, I think he sat in a chair too, didn't he?
Was he sitting in a chair?
I think so.
He might have been. I know he comes up to him and scares him with the guitar while Sandy and him are on the bed.
Yeah.
And then he shoots him through the hand. We'll get to that. We'll get to the film stuff later, yeah.
So he's pretty much, he told Sandy to get out of here so I could take care of business.
Yes, exactly. Does it a little bit quicker than the film. But like I said, we'll get to the films in a moment. So Fun Boy he doesn't knows. Like Eric didn't even have to ask him, do you remember? Fun Boy's like, oh, you're the one that took out all my buddies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he already knows.
He already knows. And so again, here we go. Eric goes to the drawer. Fun Boy's like, man, don't mess with my dope. You can take my money, but leave my dope. Eric pulls out the bottle, morphine. He's like, you've got 3 vials. I'll take 1. I'll leave you the rest. Oh, what kind of, he's like, oh, what a kind soul you are.
So he's leaving him 1?
He's taking 1,
Okay.
leaving Fun Boy 2.
Oh, okay.
And Fun Boy sarcastically looks at him. He's like, oh, you are so kind to leave me 2 bottles. Eric looks at him. Oh, and he crushes it in his hand, looks like.
Oh, okay.
Looks like Eric crushes it in his hand. And he looks at him. He's like, the gin meal. Be there at midnight. Bring some friends. We'll have a party. Eric's got a syringe in his mouth. And Fun Boy, don't be happy. Worry.
He's like, you're going to get fucked up.
You're going to get fucked up, man. You are going to get fucked up.
Bring your friends.
Yeah, bring your friend. And don't be happy. Worry. We turn over. We have another flashback, more of these watercolors. Beautiful watercolors. It's Eric and Shelley in bed together. And then we see just one single shoe, lady's shoe, sitting on the floor in front of a window. And then we see a picture. We see the syringe. We see the 1 vial of morphine that he took from Fun Boy that I thought he destroyed, but I was mistaken.
So does he take it?
He does inject himself. In the next scene, we see him inject himself in the neck with the syringe. So
Okay.
I'm assuming he injected himself with a little morphine, I guess. There's lipstick. I'm assuming that belonged to Sherry. You see his gun in the bottom corner of the page here.
Okay.
And then we see he's getting ready to go party. And we have another little phrase here. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death.
So he's recalling like the deep part of their relationship at this point.
And the crow keeps telling him, he's like, why do you do this to yourself? Why do you keep remembering these moments? You know how much it hurts you to remember these moments. Why do you keep doing this to yourself? And we get into a double spread page here, which is letting us know that we're getting into our third book, and it's titled Irony. And this is, again, beautiful colors, beautiful watercolors here. Love it. Beautiful. Even though it's black and white, it's beautiful. And we see Eric, he's getting his weapons ready to go. We also see a church and a priest here. Of course, we see Jesus on the cross. Eric's loading up his guns. And we see some more of the church here. And we see here it says, there is more than one way to purify the soul. There's absolution and redemption, salvation and a means to an end. And some of these axioms are of opposing polarities. There's at least some consolation in the fact that they have a common ground. Mine, forever and forever. And then so Eric Little's off. He leaves his home. He's ready to go fight. He's getting up right as he gets ready to go into the front door of the gin mill. He does inject himself with some morphine. He takes a syringe, don't know how much, but he takes a little bit, sticks it right in the carotid artery in his neck, and injects himself a little morphine.
Huh.
So he's gonna have him a little fun too, I guess, while he's in there.
He's like, you know what? I've had to remember all this shit. I'm getting fucked up.
I'm getting fucked up.
And I'm fucking these people up.
So right before he goes into the door, click, click. And then you see on the door here, you see the names. You see Tom Tom, T-Bird, Fun Boy, all these other ones. And Gin Mill's, it's a club.
It's like a dive bar.
Yeah, a little dive bar, yeah.
I've been to a few.
So, so you got Fun Boy in there with some buddies he brought with him, just like Eric told him to. He's like, can Fun Boy come out and play? He's like, hey, boys. He's like, this here's the guy throwing the party. He's like, so the vampire does show up.
So,
Go ahead.
No, Fun Boy was waiting for him, right?
Yeah, because remember, he told Fun Boy, he said, the gin mill, midnight, bring some buddies.
That's right.
He's like, we're going to party. So they're getting ready to fight. Eric and Fun Boy's talking to him. He's like, ready for your Sunday school lesson, pal? Eric says, yes, I've come to kneel and worship. This is just another altar in the church of pain. Spread his arms out wide. One of the other people in there says, can you believe this guy, Fun Boy? He got to be joking me. He's like, want me to tap him for you, Fun? Nah, let him ramble on for a minute or so. Eric starts speaking to him. He's like, 7 blackbirds in a tree, count them and see what they be. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret that's never been told. You're all going to die. So he's counting them off. There's about 7 in there. The bartender goes and grabs a sawed-off shotgun. Eric says, hey, hold this for me. Throws a hatchet right at him, kicks him right in the shoulder with a hatchet. Fun Boy gives the order, take him out. They all just go, boom, 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 start blasting. Eric jumps on the bar. He's double holding some pistols.
He's like full badass mode.
He is full badass mode. He's like, all right, boys, let's do it. Boom, boom, shooting him in the head. He shot 2 guys in the head. He's like, we're not done playing yet, are we? Boom, boom, shoots a couple more guys, blows their heads off, man. He's like, he's got to be wearing a vest. Somebody get a headshot in. He's like, damn, TJ got one dead square. He's like, can't anybody hit him in the head? God damn, he ain't missed once.
Everybody's shooting him, but nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening to him. Now, granted, he's taking bullets.
Yeah.
But, of course, he's basically invulnerable, so it's not getting any damage. They're just like, somebody take him down. He's only one guy.
This is what the Punisher wish he could be.
Yes, definitely. So somebody gets a shot off, hits Eric in the head. He starts bleeding. Funboy looks at him. He's like, oh, ghosts can bleed after all. Eric, he's like, death, like virtue, has its degrees. Funboy's martyrdom is now the price of salvation. Boom! Eric blows the dude's head off with his shotgun. And he was clothed in a vesture dipped in blood. And as he's doing this, they're flashing scenes in here. Barr has put in scenes of Jesus wearing the thorn crown. And after this scene here where Eric got shot in the head and the blood is coming down across his face, you see Jesus crying blood. Boom, 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 Eric's killing more. It appears, Funboy, that the party has ended. So Funboy's on one left. Funboy's just sitting there. Holding his hands together. He's like, Not wearing a vest, are you, Casper? And he's like, it don't matter. I done what I done. I ain't sorry about it. Man, I done worse. Killed this whole family up in Bloomfield Hills when Daddy pimped me on a key. Tell you this, pal. She was real hot, your girl. Listeners, this is going to get a little graphic, so bear with us. Even with half her head blown off. Didn't bother me none either. Doing her like that. Eric looks at him. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. Fun boy, go find T-Bird. I'm eager to be done with this. And we turn the page, and this is another beautiful picture. This is art of Shelley by Barr. And we go back to Eric. He's just pouring blood down his face. He's like, go, fun boy. Go fetch T-Bird. You know where to meet him. The field by the old factory? Yeah, the road by the field. You remember. Go and don't make me come after you, fun boy. I will hurt you. A lot. And slowly. Fun boy, you ain't got nowhere to run, at least not from you anyways. You going to kill me there, ain't you? Fun boy, you were dead the moment you touched her. Promise me you'll make it quick and clean. For you, I promise. Not for T-Bird. So he tells him, he's like, 1 hour, no longer. He's like, I'm a junkie, but I ain't no Judas. We'll be there. Fun boy leaves. Eric goes back to his home. I didn't understand the cutting, the self-mutilation. I mean, I know he's flashing back again as he's doing it.
Yeah, I think it's to make himself feel something.
To feel something.
That's what a lot of people do when they cut themselves.
Okay. So he's got a straight razor, and he starts cutting himself on his arms, and he's like, God, you bastard. How could you do that to her? How could you make something so soft and innocent and beautiful and then destroy it? How could you do that?
Is he talking about T-Bird or Fun Boy? I'm guessing T-Bird.
I'm thinking T-Bird. And then as he's cutting himself, we have more flashbacks. Shelley's trying to put a footstool together. Bless her, she's not having too good a time doing it.
This was before IKEA?
He's before IKEA. Eric pops back up. She's like, Eric can fix it. He's good at that stuff. Eric shows up, and he's got like a lunch pail. I guess he's either going to work or he's coming back from work. She's like, Eric, I didn't hear. He's like, shh. He's like, Eric, what's wrong? You okay? And it's cool, too, because, again, there's those masks you see hanging on their wall.
Yeah.
Those play masks. And he's like, nothing's wrong. He's like, I just like looking at you. He's like, are you sure? She's like, are you sure you're okay? He's like, God, you're beautiful. Shelley, I love you so much that it hurts my heart when I'm away. Eric, I think about you every minute of the day, too. And as these flashbacks are going, he keeps cutting himself in present time. She's like, I love you so much, it scares me. She's like, we're something, huh? Yep. The flashback starts to kind of fade away as he drops the straight razor. You see he's got this smile, but yet he's crying. It's like an anger smile. And he's like, the cat in the hat. The cat in the hat. And he draws the cat in the hat in his blood on the wall. Which we find out that has to do with another flashback we're getting here. They're both in the bathroom going to take a bath. A little flirty. And he's like, hey, I'll read the cat in the hat to you. And they both get in the tub together. She's like, I don't think potatoes can fit in this tub. Makes a mess. And she's like, all right, wise guy, you're going to clean this up. And then now we're at book 4. Book 4 is titled Despair. And then this, book 4, is where we see what happened 1 year ago to these two.
This is not for the faint of heart.
This is not for the faint of heart. Viewer discretion advised. Listener discretion advised.
And please don't cut yourselves.
And please, yes. Self-mutilation is not the answer, no.
We do not endorse that.
No, we do not. So let's go through this. Here we see Shelley and Eric. They're in the field. We're getting married. Come on, little ballerina. It's getting cold. Let's go home, handsome. Got something in mind? Something? Nice car.
It's a Hemi Cuda.
It's a Hemi Cuda. Beautiful car from what I can see here in the artwork. Looks like rain. I'm so happy, Eric. And then the next page over. Oh, damn, the car broke down. Damn. Think it through a rod. Can you fix it? Not here, I can't. Now we're getting to the guys. This is good rock. You know it. Quit hogging the pipe, man. Here comes Fun Boy and them all. They pass by Eric and Shelley on the side of the road.
So they're getting fucked up while Eric and Shelley are
broke down on the side of the road. Yeah. So they pass by them, throw out their booze, their empty bottles. Shelley she's like, "What was that, Eric? Just some kids, honey. They keep going by, and of course, it's a T-Bird in the group. Y'all see that, 10? I can smell it from here. Who got the pipe? Fun boy, who you got the pipe? They're backing up, Shelly. You broke it, man. Shelly, I want you to lock the doors, roll up the windows. What's happening, Eric? Everything's going to be okay, Shelly. But Eric, it's going to be okay. So T-Bird and them back up. They go back to where Shelly and Eric are on the side of the road. Yo, man, yo. Shut up. Yo, you done that whole rock. What up, dog? Let me out, man. Let me out. Hey, bud. We give you a hand. This is 10 talking. Or excuse me, T-Bird talking. Well, both of them. Excuse me, both of them. No thanks, guys. I've got it handled. You sure? I'm sure. Come on, bud. We just want to help. Yeah, help.
So they're all crowding around him.
They're all coming around him, and you see T-Bird's got hiding a gun behind his leg. Well, maybe the girlie needs some help. Come on, guys. Give us a break. Is you begging? Why, you worthless piece of trash. I ought to take you down just for that. What you got to say for yourself? Shelly, turn on the lights. Shelly turns on the headlights while Eric stands in front of the car. Hey, boys, why don't you go see if the little woman needs a hand? Open up, baby. Hey, Tom, she don't like us. No taste whatsoever. Get away from her. Open up, baby. Oh, God, these guys are just disgusting. They're just disgusting.
Yep.
Leave her alone. Hey, man, get off us. T-Bird looks at him. Hey, boy, eat this. Shoots Eric right in the back of the head. Eric falls to his knees. Don't do this. Blood's coming down his face. Well, this boy sure has a thick head. Lights a cigarette. Shelly's watching everything from inside the car while Fun Boy and the rest of them are crowded around the car. T-Bird puts the gun up to the back of Eric's head again. Any parting words for your pretty little boyfriend, honey? Yo, T-Bird, go on and do him. Please. Shelly looks at him. Please. That's the best you can do? For shame. Don't. And then you see above T-Bird's head.
So Eric is begging them.
He's begging them not to do this. And as you see T-Bird, you see a silhouette of a crow in the sky above T-Bird's head. The crow, hey, Eric, it's okay. Boom. T-Bird shoots Eric for the second time in the back of the head. Look, T, his hair's on fire. And here comes then T-Bird, one hot individual. Hey, T-Bird, quit messing with the dead guy. Let's do the broad. I'll huff and puff. Get her out of this car before it starts pouring. Eric's laying on the ground. Tears of blood's coming out of his eyes. We'll sum it up. They drag her out of the car. They throw her down on the ground. She's screaming. I think Eric is partially alive still, I believe. Even though he's been shot twice in the head, I feel like he's partially alive. His eyes are open.
Oh, yeah, he is.
He's still partially still alive. So they take Shelly. They throw her down on the ground, rape Shelly. They kill her, stab her, well, shoot her at least. You see bullet holes. I believe they stab her as well. And the crow's the crow's over by Eric's face. T-Bird and his gang continued their assault on Shelly. She starts screaming. And this is, of course, they've already recalled this, but you see it now. Tom's telling her to shut up, so he's kicking her in the head, stomping her head. T-Bird comes up behind him. He's like, get out of the way, Tom. Shoot Shelly. And basically, they're going to rob them now. They're going to take all their money. They're going to take the rings. They're going to take anything they can take. Leave them laying. They get in the car. It starts pouring down rain. They leave them laying on the side of the road dead. Well, Eric's in the middle of the road dead. Shelly was on the side of the road dead. Yes, and this is different as well. Of course, from the film, it's always different. A little bit different adaptation. But we see here, Eric is in the hospital. He is still alive. And this is where we see where Captain Hook comes to the hospital to see him. He's like, nice to meet you, Eric. He said, I'm Captain Hook. He's like, you got about 2 minutes before you go back into surgery. He's like, can you tell me anything that's happened? He's like, it don't look good. He said, the docs say you were DOA, you were brain dead. They got a heartbeat back. He's like, your addict don't really have any room, so to speak.
Yeah.
That, that he's brain dead. But
You're basically gone, man.
you're basically gone. But you can see Eric's eyes. He's looking at him. So Eric is cognate. He sees. He knows. He looks at him. Captain Hook looks at him. He's like, I'm sorry. Your girl suffered like that. He's like, at least you didn't have to see it. Well, unfortunately, you did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why things like this happen. He said, it makes me sick to be a human. And he leaves his card in Eric's toes, between his toes. He's like, I hope you had a good life, son. He's like, I'm sorry. And Eric mumbles, the crow. What? What did you say? And then we see that they're trying to do surgery on Eric. They're trying to save his life. He died in the hospital on the operating table. They were trying to save him, but unfortunately, 2 gunshots to the back of the head. There was nothing they could do for him. And she was in the next room, already died. She was dead on arrival. And we see, Eric's at home. He's just lashing out. He destroys the window to the house. He holds his arms out. He screams, Shelly, I'm coming home. And we see Eric sitting with a long coat on, kind of just looking up at you, the reader. You see a picture of the house where the window was broke out. He's like, here's where it all began. This is the beginning of the end. Again, more flashbacks of him and Shelly. We see Gabriel walking upstairs. You see some bloody handprints of Eric's on the wall. Hello, Gabriel. It's time for me to go. You see all these guns just lined up against the wall. And Eric is dropping a little bit of blood on a couple of the bullets. So Eric is, he's going for the final showdown, basically, with T-Bird and Fun Boy. He's getting ready. And we see various flashbacks as he leaves. We see Gabriel looking at him sadly because I think Gabriel knows he's probably not coming back.
That cat knows everything.
That cat knows everything. So Eric takes some looks to be duct tape, wraps up his forearms where he cut himself as he's getting ready to leave out the house. Does a little more stretching, a little more working out there before he goes.
I will say it's cool. James Barr is one of the few writer-artists that knows when not to say anything. He lets his art speak for him. Because a lot of these pages don't have words at all.
No, the art speaks for itself in this book.
Yeah.
That is for sure. And again, we're seeing different flashbacks here of Eric and Shelly together as he's leaving the house. He's loading his guns. Then you see that he is burning the photos. He's burning her shoe. He's burning the Christmas topper, and he's burning a rose in the fireplace. As he's getting ready, he's shedding tears as he's watching everything burn. He's saying goodbye for the last time as he's holding Gabriel in his arms. He's loading everything up. He's ready to go. He walks out the door, and he burns the house down. The house is in flames as he walks out the door with Gabriel on his shoulder. And we are in the final book of this story, and it is titled Death. And Eric goes by right before, and he visits Sherry. She's asleep, and he looks in her hand, and she's still holding the engagement ring of Shelley's that he gave her on the necklace. And he looks at her. He says, hello, Sherry. She's like, oh, Mr. Clown, you came back, just like you said. He's like, just like I promised. She's like, I missed you so much. He's like, I missed you too, Princess. You're going away for good, ain't you? Yeah, I have some affairs to put in order, and I'm going to be with Shelly. But you said she was, yes, but it's where I belong. I don't understand. I love you. I don't want you to go. And he's like, more than words can say, Princess, I love you. He said, but I have to go. And then we see him leave. He says goodbye to her. He kisses her on the forehead, leaves a little black lip imprint from his makeup on her forehead as he walks away from her.
He just comes to say goodbye.
Says goodbye to Sherry, yeah. Of course, the house is burnt down. Here's Captain Hook and the firefighters. Here's Officer Albrecht. He's got Gabriel. He's like, sir, he's scratching the shit out of me. He's like, take him. Albrecht hands over Gabriel to Captain Hook. Gabriel cools down. He's just like he's like purring away in Captain Hook's arms. He's just purring away. He reads a note that Eric left for him. He's like, Mr. Hook, take care of my cat. He will bring you good luck. His name is Gabriel. And it seems, is a she. Expect kittens in about 6 weeks.
Oh, by the way, here you go.
The Crow. I hate cats. P.S. She needs a flea collar. Shit.
That was a good little scene.
That was a great scene. I love that. So Eric, he's walking through the city. We have a guy standing here. Ugly Patrick, apparently they call him. He is kind of ugly looking. He got some scars and some pock marks and stuff all over his
That was
face.
the drug dealer. What's her name was going to.
That's right. It is
She
him.
couldn't get anything from.
Yeah, that Sandy was going to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Eric comes upon him. Eric kills him. He slices his throat with his straight razor. Leaves him dead. We go back to where the house is on fire. Firefighters they're going to call it a night. There's not really a whole lot they can do about it. They're just going to have to let it burn itself down. As you can see here, Eric also left Officer Albrecht a note. We can't really read what it says. Basically, I can't read everything. The way the art's drawn is blocking it. Basically, he's telling her about Sherry, kind of help her out, take care of her, make sure she's taken care of.
Watch over
her, yeah. So then we see T-Bird and Funboy. Funboy's telling T-Bird about what's going on, everything he's been doing. And so T-Bird looks at me, he's like, so this is some guy smoked a year ago coming back for revenge. He's like, yeah, you remember that Cuda and that blonde chick out on I-75? We was all stoned. He's like, somebody sold you some bad dope there, Fun. Whatever you say, T. So they're just going through it. Of course, Funboy got to hit him a little bit of morphine before he goes.
Of course.
Of course he does, yeah.
That's what we junkies do.
But he's by himself. T-Bird and him's all gone. They're leaving. Funboy by himself while he shoots up. And you see Eric pop up from behind some Ajax and some Rage spray on a shelf here. Eric looks at him. He's like, Funboy. Funboy looks at him, all scared. He's like, shh. He's like, man, I told him you heard. They won't listen. I done what I could. I know you did. He's like, sit down. He's like, I promised you a painless death. It's time. And basically he shoots up. He's carved. Now Eric is taking and carving on his chest a circle with some lines, almost I guess like a bullseye kind of.
Yeah,
I suppose
that's what I got from it.
And he basically ODs or allows Funboy to OD, or he ODs him. Yeah,
that's his quiet death. I guess a clean death.
Clean, yeah.
That's what he said.
And he's like. Funboy looks at me. He's like, I'll give Lucer your regards, Ghost Man. Do me a favor. When you get to T-Bird, kill that bastard slow. And Funboy dies. And you see on the wall written in blood, he's like, I know why Jesus wept, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Eric wrote that with his blood is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know what the reference is.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. So Eric is leaving Funboy. Of course, T-Bird's got his boys standing up. We're going to try to ambush Eric. Eric knows them guys is there. He just starts blowing them away. He's killing more people. He meets up this one guy, and there's a younger kid, Two-Tone. He's like, do you want to live, Two-Tone? He's like, yeah, I want to live. He's like, and Eric looks at him. He's like, I've already taken my ride in the big black car. He looks at him. He's like, please don't kill me, mister. Don't kill me. Eric walks away. And then we see T-Bird talking. He's got a couple of boys with him. They're waiting on Eric. T-Bird's talking to these few people. He's like, I believe. He's like, he looks at T-Bird. He's like, what do you believe in, man? T-Bird's like, I believe in dope, guns, and broads. And you see a little bit more flashbacks here. A couple more flashbacks of Eric and Shelly. T-Bird sitting in his car with a guy named Shelby. Boom! Shelby gets his head blown completely off by a shotgun. Eric blows his head clean off, double barrel shotgun. T-Bird's like, oh God, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. He's like, blood.
Freaking out.
Yeah, he is freaking out. Eric's sitting on top of his car. T-Bird trying to get the blood off his windshield.
Yeah.
Eric looks at me. He's like, get out of the car, you bastard. He's like, I'm going to kill all of you. He's like, I've already killed all your foot soldiers. He's like, you want to see? And of course, there's a few more people around there. Eric takes his jacket off. You see the carving he put on his chest, and it is a bullseye because he tells him, he's like, shoot now.
Yep.
I ain't got no weapons, because he drops all of his weapons. And then T-Bird jumps out. They all aim their weapons at Eric, and they all open fire.
It's like 30 shots all at once.
All at once. Eric's just got his arms spread wide open. They're just taking shots. Eric's wounds start to heal. You still see the scars, but his wounds is healed, though. And everybody's like, what? Where'd he go? He's in the shadows. He's in the shadows. And you see he is in the shadows. And I bet damn, he's got cats around him again.
I'm telling you, they misnamed him. He should have been Catman.
So he's behind all the guys. He's taking them out one at a time, using their own weapons against them. He's stabbing them. He's shooting them with shotguns. He's taking them all out. Of course, T-Bird he's trying to take some shots too, but I think he's also kind of hiding in the background a little bit. Beautiful double page spread here of Eric and taking out the other henchmen here and everything. Again, he's taking them all out. He's got pretty much every one of them dead. One comes up beside of him, shoots him right through the neck. Eric takes him by the head, slams his head against a brick wall, crushes it instantly. And then you have this maniacal looking picture of Eric, like he's got this sadistic grin as his own blood is dripping down onto his mouth, onto his tongue, like he's tasting his own blood.
It's very gory. If anybody's ever read like the Punisher Max series, that's the closest you're going to get to this.
Okay. I haven't read that. Okay.
Yeah, it's very gory.
So T-Bird, he's freaking the hell out because all his guys are dead. He jumps in his car. He's like, oh, this is a dream. This is a nightmare. No, this can't be happening. So T-Bird starts driving away. And Eric sees him leave. He's like, does T-Bird know the Crow, he says, does T-Bird know where he's headed? So T-Bird keeps going down the road.
So T-Bird's driving away from him.
Yeah, he's running away from him. There is a bloody shape of Crow on the windshield, I'm guessing. And it scares T-Bird. So T-Bird veers off the road, wrecks his car. And so he's sitting on the side of the road. And here comes Eric. Eric's driving a car. And he finds him on the stretch of the road, and Eric's got a hammer in his hand. And then we see some photos of a graveyard.
I think
I'm sorry. Did I miss something? I apologize.
No, you're good. Isn't that where he kills him with a hammer?
I'm assuming he does, yes.
Okay,
it doesn't show it, but I'm assuming he does, yes. Because T-Bird is sitting there, and that's when he asks him that question. He's like, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? And T-Bird's like, I don't know. Then Eric, you see the hammer, and Eric's it depends on the tune.
So yeah, basically, it doesn't show it on camera or on page.
On page.
He smashes his head in with a hammer.
Yeah, he smashes his head with a hammer.
And that's the end of the people.
That's the end of the gang. And then the next couple of pages, we see a graveyard. It's Shelley and Eric's gravestones. And you see here, it says, hello, Shelley. It's over, baby. I'm coming home. Eric's sitting at her grave, just kind of resting. And he's remembering. We get some more flashbacks of him and Shelley together as he's sitting there at the gravestone. We see a kind of a shape of a crow flying overhead. And Eric is sitting there and he's like, remember when you said mine and I said forever? You said only forever? It's forever now. And you see a gun laying on the ground, and then you don't see anything now except for a statue in the graveyard. And that's how it ends.
So do you interpret that ending as him just disappearing?
I believe so. I believe he...
Or did he shoot himself? This is like
I don't know. It's kind of ambiguous. I don't know. It's
like the ending of that Batman comic we read. Killing Joke.
Oh, Killing Joke with Joker and Batman, yeah. I'm going to go the route of him...
I think he just disappeared.
Just disappears.
Because they don't show a body at all at the end.
I think that, yeah. I'm gonna say he disappears. He joins her in heaven. So that is the end of 1989, The Crow by James Barr. A little longer of an episode that we've had here, but I think it deserved it. It's a great book.
There's those masks again.
There's all those masks again.
I think they're called tragedy masks.
Okay.
I know my sister used to collect these. Awesome. I just can't remember the exact name of them. They're like masks, like little porcelain masks. And they do them like, you see them in Mardi Gras and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They just have different like
designs and stuff on them.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I teared up a little bit reading it again. It's just it's a great book. It is, because
it's one of the best like self-contained novels of all time.
It is. Once you know the history of Barr and what he went through, and this was basically his therapy for his loss of his loved one. You can fill it in, and like I said, if you can't feel that, if you can't pick that up after reading this comic book, then your soul ain't right. I'm sorry, it ain't right.
It still holds up really good.
It does. After all these years, 1989, it holds up. I mean, I think anybody could pick this up right now and not even know what year it was. You know, you could say this was 2024 if you didn't know, honestly.
Yeah. There's not a lot of exposition. It is in black and white, so if that turns you off, that's the only thing that'll turn you off.
I don't think I would have liked it in color.
I don't know. I think I would have, because if you look at the front cover,
okay,
he's got some paintings. Like,
oh yeah, I closed the book before I looked.
His painting work is amazing. Like that.
Okay, I
Yeah.
retract my last. I retract my last statement. Yeah, I think color might have been good.
I'd like to see a version of it in color. I ain't saying it needs to go to color.
Yeah, I was
but,
gonna say I don't guess they wouldn't need to reprint in color. No,
but it'd be cool to see like a
It
version of
would
it.
be. It would be. Yeah.
So if you're gonna buy this, the single issues, because the way it worked is, you had the first 4 issues through one publisher, and then the 5th issue through another publisher.
Yeah, they did. What was the first 4 was Caliber Comics.
Yeah, with that guy that he's helped start the company with.
Yeah, then they didn't publish the 5th one for whatever reason, I forget. And then I think it went to Tundra, I think. And then your 4th printing paperback that we're reading out of is from Kitchen Sink Press.
Yeah.
And this was 1994, so this coincided with the release of the live action adaptation film. So the Crow itself, the properties went through several different publishers, with the last one being the newest one now being Sumerian Publishing, I believe is the name of the comic book company. But beforehand it was Image, IDW.
Well, if you want, I'll go through them.
Yes, sir, definitely.
I will say, if you're going to buy these though, buy the paperback, because the first. It's actually not that expensive. I thought it was going to be more. The first issue is like about $1,200, but it was a very limited run. The other 3 issues are like $200 a piece,
Okay.
which ain't bad for what they are.
No, definitely not.
The first appearance at Caliber #1, it runs. That's probably the priciest one. It can go up to $5,000 depending on the grade. The history of because there's not many, and that's why I wanted to go through them.
For sure.
You have this 89. Then in 96, Barr came back to do that Dead Time 3-shot.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had another 3-issue set called Flesh and Blood. Another one called City of Angels. Another one called Wild Justice. All those came out in 1996.
The City of Angels, was that dealing with the film?
I believe it was either an adaptation or like a tie-in,
Okay.
if I remember my research right.
Okay.
Then you had Waking Nightmares. That was a 4-issue set in 97. You had a one-shot that O'Barr did in 98 called Shattered Lives. That was all through Kitchen Sink Press.
Okay.
Then they move on to London Night Studios to do this Razor Kill the Pain. That was a 3-issue set. Then it goes to Image in 1999, a 10-issue run.
Okay.
And then it goes to a French company for, I think it was 10 issues as well.
Oh, okay.
And they did some just in French.
Just in French.
Yeah,
Okay.
like their own little thing.
Okay.
Then it comes over to IDW in 2012, a series called Death and Rebirth. That was 5 issues. O'Barr comes back in 2012 to do a 3-issue miniseries called Skinning the Wolves, 3-issue miniseries in 2013 called Curar. Then they do a crossover with the X-Files, a one-shot.
That's odd.
It is odd, and I was wondering why the heck, but then I was watching an interview with James Barr, and he's a big, like, Law and Order, like, crime
Okay.
kind of influences.
Yeah.
Which kind of explains the whole detective
True.
stuff in here.
Yeah.
Then you got a 4-issue set called Pestilence in 2014, a 4-issue set called Memento Mori in 2018, and then you got 3 in 2019. They're all by Tim Seeley.
Ah, Mr. Seeley.
Yeah, he had one called Hack and Slash, 4 issues, Hark the Herald, a one-shot, and Lathe, another 3-issue set.
Okay.
And then the one you were talking about, the Sumerian.
So I think it's Sumerian Publications or Sumerian Press. I forget the exact name. We'll put it on our socials when I remember it, because I did pre-order. They are reprinting Dead Time, O'Barr's second run, which is only 3 issues. And I think it's interesting because it's going to deal with Native American Avatar as the Crow. So I can't wait for that to come out. I think that drops in October.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for that to come out. I'm going to read that and see, because I've not read anything but this original 89 comic.
And we talked a little bit before the podcast. I told you that he worked on a Batman comic.
Yes, you did. Mm-hmm.
And he worked on it for like several months.
Okay.
Because the publisher, he had, like, O'Barr has no interest in doing Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or any of those.
Right.
But he's like, you know what? I got an idea for a noir Batman story.
That would have been amazing.
It would have been.
Been great.
So the publisher says, yeah, start tomorrow. So he started on it, and like a year into it, another publisher comes in and says, nah, we don't want to do that. So they shelved it, and he's like, you know what? Never again.
It's what could have been
Yeah.
if the DC higher-ups hadn't screwed it over.
Yep. That's the only other thing he's really worked on or tried to work on,
Try to work on it.
comic-wise.
Oh, that would have been amazing. I'd love to have seen him do a Batman comic.
All right, Dan, so this spawns some movies. You want...
It did spawn some movies, that's for sure.
Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children.
It spawned the cult classic, I consider a cult classic, I think everybody else does. 1994, The Crow, starring Brandon Lee. An amazing movie. I love that movie. And I knew the movie before I ever knew the comic books.
I'd say most people do.
I think so, yeah. And a lot of people want to say that it helped kind of reinforce goth, the gothic. I don't know if I don't think that one subset of American culture owns The Crow. I think it's for everybody, but I understand what they're saying with the whole goth culture. I get that because you can look at it, And the 90s were,
especially the movie,
for sure, yeah. But yeah, the movie, it is an adaptation of the original comic, but they don't change super drastic.
He's not a musician.
No, he is not. In the comic book, he is not a musician. He is a mechanic. Because of Barr, you said it was also a mechanic for a time. But Barr also liked music because of the
he loved music.
Iggy Pop and stuff. So I can see why he made him a musician.
We'll talk about the soundtrack here in a little bit.
Yeah, in the film. But they did change a little bit of stuff. The musician was one thing. They changed the villains. Yeah. In the film, Top Dollar was made the top, no pun intended, villain of the gang. T-Bird was kind of the leader of his crew, which included Skank, 1010, and Funboy. But Top Dollar was the main guy, but you kind of felt like they were just his henchmen, and he didn't really give a shit about them anyway.
Yeah.
Because when T-Bird comes up and tells him, one of my guys got perished, he was stabbed, in his vital organs in alphabetical order, Top Dollar basically like, oh, well, let's have a little remembrance for old 1010, and does a line of coke. So, Top Dollar didn't really care about these guys because he can just replace them at any time. But yeah, so, basically he does follow the comic. Eric has come back a year later, and he is seeking revenge against the ones who killed him and Shelley. Now, the death is different in the movie from the comic book. Instead of being killed on the side of the road, they are killed in their apartment building. And basically what it is their apartment building they're getting kicked out because basically Top Dollar is kind of devaluing property prices and stuff around the city by doing Devil's Night, by blowing things up, by blowing the buildings and stuff up, because he's involved in everything, drugs and weapons and real estate and stuff like that. So they were going to kick all the tenants out. Well, Shelley was fighting this and trying to fight it for her, for Eric, for the other tenants in the building. And it got back to Top Dollar and the rest of the crew. So he sent T-Bird and the other guys to take care of Shelley and Eric. And they did. They killed Eric. They shot him. They stabbed him. They pushed him out the window. And he died on the scene, hitting the pavement. Shelley was similar to the comic. She was assaulted. She was at the beginning of the film, you see that Eric is dead, and she is still holding on to life, barely holding on to life. So they did change that up. I didn't know that until I read the comic, and I told Sean, I was like, the comic's not going to be as bad as the movie. He's like, oh, it's 10 times worse than the movie. They do, and again, like I said, they change up the order of the villains that he takes out. He takes out, 1010 is like in the book. He takes out 1010 first, but instead of killing him, he uses his knives. 1010's a big knife guy in the movie. Then Funboy, and then he takes out T-Bird, which is a great one because he takes out T-Bird by blowing him up in his car. Kind of waving bye-bye and blows him up in his car. Skank sees this, poor Skank. And then he goes, and we have the big shootout scene with all the other gang members and stuff because he's coming after Skank. He doesn't have anything really to do with Top Dollar because he didn't know Top Dollar was involved. Mm-hmm. He just remembers, Skank and the others. So there's a big shootout, big scene. Eric's taking everybody out. He's killing them with swords. He's killing them with the guns. And he gets a hold of Skank. And he's like, you Skank. No, Skank dead. He's like, yeah, he is. He tosses Skank out the window. Police show up, and Eric disappears. And by the end of the film, he believes he's finished. Top Dollar decides he wants to take out the Crow, take out Eric. So they kidnap Sarah, who is Sherry in the comics, and him and Eric have one last fight. They realize that his power comes from the Crow, so they shoot the Crow. They try to kill the Crow, and it does weaken Eric. It does allow him to be hurt. So him and Top Dollar have a fight on the top of the church, and Eric does get wounded, but Eric basically feeds the 30 hours of pain and sorrow that Shelley went through in the hospital into Top Dollar's mind, and it causes him to fall off the top of the church, and he is impaled on a gargoyle. And by the end of the film, Eric goes back to his grave, and you see Shelley walking up to him. She touches him, gives him a kiss, and they disappear. His grave is now covered back up from where he had dug himself out. Basically, the movie ends with Sarah going and seeing that their graves are all, back to the way they were, and there's a crow standing there perched on top of the gravestone. And that's basically how the film ends. It is changed somewhat, but
The basic concept for every Crow property is they're just set to fulfill their quest for revenge
yes,
on what's wronged them.
because in each version of the four original films, there's some kind of tragedy that happens.
So yeah,
They get killed. The Crow resurrects, and in the original four films and in the new film, the Crow resurrects the male of the partnership to come back to seek revenge and right the wrongs that were done to them in life.
so before we move on to the other movies,
Yeah.
we've talked about a lot of this like off air, but as far as regards to the comics, like this came out in '89. They had already bought the rights to it to make it a movie within 2 years,
Okay.
which is super fast.
That is fast.
And the reason being is because Batman did so good, they were buying up every comic property they could find.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And they were like, well, we can do this one real cheap. And then we talked about the actors they originally thought about. River Phoenix and Christian Slater and
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And and they also wanted Michael Jackson in this to be a musical.
Yeah. That one blew my mind when Sean told me about that.
That's funny. I do want to talk about the soundtrack.
Yes.
So when James O'Barr was like doing all the record reviews and stuff, he was doing that just to get records
Okay.
because he was such a big fan of music.
Mm-hmm.
I pointed out the Dead Soul sign.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a song by Joy Division, which is like his favorite band, and that's like a big influence on this book.
Okay.
One of his things he was in control of for the movie was the soundtrack.
Oh.
He was in direct control of that because he wanted it to sound very
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So he reached out to all of his musician friends to do songs specifically for this movie.
Okay.
So he had Nine Inch Nails do a cover of that Joy Division song,
Yeah.
Dead Souls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the song you hear when he first becomes the Crow.
Okay.
I'll play it for you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and all the rest. That's why it's such an awesome soundtrack.
The soundtrack is something I've not touched on tremendously. I need to listen to it. I've not listened to a lot of it though.
Well, for us, like when I was growing up, and I probably listened to that soundtrack more than any other album.
Okay. Yeah.
It's such a great soundtrack. And he also didn't have permission to put all these lyrics and poetry in here.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's like, well, I'll put it in there, and if they say something, then I'll take it out. So we can relate to that. It was shot during the blizzard of '93.
I remember that.
Yeah, all us old folks will tell you tales of the blizzard of '93.
I got out of school for a whole week.
Yeah, we did.
Or maybe more. I don't remember.
As far as the movie, James Barr didn't like the parts where the Crow got hurt and it hurt Brandon Lee's character.
Oh, the end of the film.
Like any of it, like the Crow being tied to him, like
Oh, gotcha.
the mystical kind of supernatural stuff. He wasn't a fan of that.
Okay. Yeah, because he's more of a guide in the book, kind of.
But it's part of his personality.
Yeah.
So yeah, Barr owns the comic rights, the publication rights. He doesn't own the film rights at all. So they can do whatever they want to, and they just.
Kind of wish he'd owned the film rights.
Well, he didn't really care about it.
Well, I guess as long as he owns the comic books, we're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
We're
like,
okay.
they cut me a check. I'm good.
So does that mean because I know he didn't write all of the other books that you listed earlier, does he have to approve?
Yep.
Sign off on them before? Oh, okay.
Similar to Eastman Laird, like the situation we're talking about there.
Okay.
Brandon Lee didn't read the comic until after he got the script for it. If you're a wrestling fan, we all know about Sting taking the crow paint.
Yeah, he did. That's for sure.
Which the story I've heard, Scott Hall came up with the idea, and he's like, hey, you should do this, whatever. And James Barr's like, everybody's cool with it. He's like, I don't give a shit. I don't watch wrestling.
Right. And until this day, Sting still has a version of the makeup he wears.
The movie studios didn't care either until WCW went to make action figures, so they had to change his paint.
Because of that. Okay.
I thought that was pretty neat.
That is pretty neat, yeah. I want to speak real quick, and everybody knows this, the tragedy of Brandon passing away. And I didn't know the details of it until just a few days ago, honestly, and that's probably sad to know 30 years later, but it basically, the film was done. He had shot all of his scenes pretty much, but it was reshoots they wanted to do. And the tragedy happened. They were reshooting the scene in the film when he comes in and they are assaulting Shelley. And the scene is, of course, in the movie, you see in the product where he is shot. He is shot several times. Well, the unfortunate fatal shot was the part where Funboy points his gun at him, and he is supposed to shoot him in the gut. That's part of the scene. But they didn't know that there was a defective round in the gun. They thought, because when the shot went off and he fell over, they thought, okay, that's the scene. That's what's supposed to happen. Until they noticed some blood on the ground, and then they rushed him to the hospital, and unfortunately, we know what happened. He didn't make it. But the actor who played Funboy, it traumatized him so much that he took a year or two off from acting. And up until he passed away several years ago from stomach cancer, I believe I read. He never talked about it. He didn't really want to talk about it. He did do an interview toward the end of his life, and it still traumatized him. He felt responsible. It wasn't his fault. It was the people who supposedly was supposed to check the weapons. So it was human error. They should have checked it better, but they didn't. Like you told me, Paramount was going to shelve it. They weren't going to do the film. They were going to release it all. And his mother, Brandon Lee's mother, and at the time fiance, basically went to the production crew and said, please put this movie out. We want this to be seen by people. This was Brandon's last film. We want this to be seen. So Miramax picked it up, an extra $8 million, and finished it, did the reshoots. And one of the main stuntmen, the guy who stood in for Brandon when they CG'd his face onto him, I forget his name, and I apologize for that, but he later would become the creator of John Wick.
Oh, shit.
He's the creator of John Wick. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He went from being Brandon's stunt double and stand-in for his final scenes to being the creator of one of the biggest franchises in probably modern movie history right now with John Wick. So
I feel like Keanu Reeves. Whoa.
Yeah. So yes, the other films.
I will say this before you go on. Brandon Lee was supposed to get married 10 days after he got shot.
Yeah, he was. And he had signed on for a 3-movie deal with this. So, yes, the other films, number 2 was 1996. It was Crow, City of Angels. I don't mind that film. Actually, I kind of like that film. It does feel like a direct sequel in a way because the character of Sarah is in that film. It's a different actress. She is older. I don't remember exactly the time frame, how many years later. I don't know the character's name, so a brief synopsis of that film. A father and son witness a murder by a group of thugs, basically, some criminals. They are murdered. They are shot and drowned. Sarah kind of has premonitions, kind of has feelings, because she still has Shelley's ring with her. And she basically guides the new Crow in his revenge, in his vengeance. And I believe, it's been a while since I've seen these other films, but I believe she ends up dying in the film. The character Sarah ends up dying in the film. But I like City of Angels. I thought it was pretty good. The third film is called Crow Salvation, is 2000. It was going to be released in theaters, but since City of Angels didn't do too well, it was limited released in a couple of cities. I think in San Antonio and Sacramento, I believe, but then ultimately it was released directly to video. And it came out in 2000. In that version, the Crow is a 21-year-old man, Alex Corvus. He is framed for the murder of his girlfriend. He is electrocuted. He comes back to life to avenge her death. And I believe the main killer, I can't remember, but I believe it was a crooked cop. I believe he was one of the crooked cops, I think, in the movie. That one I actually just found on Tubi, and I need to rewatch that movie because I rewatched about 20 minutes of it last night on lunch, and I think it might be actually better than I remember it. And then the fourth and final one of the original run of films was called Wicked Prayer, came out in 2005, starred Ed Furlong, he is the Crow, had David Boreanaz and Tara Reid. They are kind of in a demon cult, a devil cult sort of thing.
It's a Lost Buffy episode.
Oh boy. That one I don't remember a lot. A lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, there are some people that like that film, totally fine. It's not for me. I don't like it. And I'm not the biggest Ed Furlong fan. I don't think his acting is that good. I don't think David Boreanaz's acting is the best in the world. But I probably should try to rewatch it and maybe frame a different opinion, an updated opinion. But from what I remember, I did not like that film. So for me, my ranking as of right now, the original four films goes in order. The original Crow, City of Angels, Salvation, and Wicked Prayer for me. I only own the original film. And a quick story about that, in 2017, I actually got to meet Mr. O'Barr at Fanboy Expo in Knoxville. Very nice man, very sweet man. He was doing free signatures and selling some prints. I wish I'd bought a print. I didn't. I was spending my money on other autographs and stuff at that time. But he did sign my Crow Blu-ray, and he signed his name on the disc, and he put a little halo above Brandon Lee's head. So he's a very sweet man. If you ever get to meet him, definitely go up to him and talk to him. He loves his fans. He loves, hearing what you feel about the Crow. He's a really nice guy. So if I never get to meet him again, that was a once in a lifetime thing. So I'm really glad I got to meet Mr. O'Barr.
He's a good one.
So what are your feelings? Do you have any feelings on the other films at all?
Well,
or did you ever watch the other films?
I've watched City of Angels, and I believe I watched Salvation. And I watched part of the TV series, too.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the TV series. I never watched it. It's basically Eric Draven, and they pretty much picks up after the first film. He has avenged his and Shelley's death, but basically he is told that he can't rest until he kind of balances out the good and evil in the world. So for 22 episodes of the series, kind of a villain of the week kind of situation, I believe. I don't know. I never watched it, but I heard it was decent. I heard it was okay.
And I did go see the new ones. So for all of our listeners right now, we're getting ready to spoil this movie.
So you can stop listening and go watch it and come back and listen to us, or just keep listening and, so it's your discretion.
Yeah. And I'm not going to shit on this movie, just so you all know.
I have not seen this movie, so this is my first time hearing spoilers for it.
Well, let me start with the story from what I remember. And my memory is not the best, so take it with a grain of salt. But I went and seen it opening night. It starts out with Shelley this time instead of Eric.
Okay.
It focuses on her. She's in trouble with he's almost like a mobster dude, like the main villain.
I seen who the villain was, and I love the actor. I can't think of his name.
He's a great actor.
I love the actor, though.
And I loved his character in this movie, to be honest. A lot of people, well, I won't say a lot of people, some people didn't.
Okay.
But I really liked him as his villain. And this movie's a lot more supernatural than the other ones.
I have seen people talk about that. There's a big supernatural element in it, yeah.
So basically, she gets arrested, like one of the goons is looking for her, and she gets arrested because she has drugs in her purse. So the cops send her to rehabilitation, and that's where she meets Eric, who's in this rehab center.
Okay, so he's already there. He's already
there, but I'm not sure if it's just for drugs or if everybody's there for different reasons.
Okay.
So this movie focuses more on their relationship longer, like probably for a good first hour of the movie, before anything like drastic happens.
Okay.
And that's probably the con to the movie, or the worst thing I would say about the movie is the pacing.
Okay.
They could have did that better, maybe a little bit better chemistry. But Bill Skarsgård, however you say his name,
Yeah, that is it. Bill Skarsgård. Yeah.
he was awesome in it, I thought.
Yeah, I love him.
The girl plays Shelley, she was okay.
Her name was, is FKA Twigs.
Yeah.
And the main villain, the actor's name is Danny Houston. So yeah, I love Bill Skarsgård. I mean, he was, if everybody knows, he is the current Pennywise from the new It movies.
He's it.
He is it. I love him in that. I love him in that. Yeah,
He's great. And once you get to the point where they show the death scene, is those goons that got, caught up to him. I want to say they suffocated Eric.
They do. In the trailer, it shows them suffocating Eric and Shelley with like plastic bags.
Yeah. And that's how they die. And then Eric goes into this, not hell, but in between.
Purgatory?
Yeah, purgatory.
Kind of purgatory? Okay.
Yeah. So he can come back to avenge, obviously, like the other crows. So he starts hunting these people down. Then he finds out that Shelley was in something weird happened. Like the main villain has this ability to whisper into your ear and make you do stuff. So she actually he did this to Shelley, this particular effect, and she ended up stabbing this girl, and there's video footage of it.
Oh.
And Eric comes across it, fucks him up really bad.
Okay.
But he's like, you know what? I'm still going to stay on task. I'm going to take this guy out. Eric ends up dying at one point, and he gets sent back to purgatory, and he's like, there's a guy in purgatory that's kind of telling him, this is how it works. And
Oh, is he supposed to be kind of like the Skull Cowboy?
yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah, he's kind of like that.
Okay.
It does. I forgot this at the beginning of the movie. It shows like the horse scene where it gets caught up in Barr and all that stuff.
Okay.
So it does tie a little bit to the book, but I would say loosely.
Well, some adaptations are, yeah.
Yeah, which is fine.
More looser than others sometimes.
Yeah. So he makes this deal. It's like, all right, if you let me go back this one time, you can have me and just let Shelley live.
Okay.
That's the ending deal that he makes with him. He's like, all right, whatever. Go on. And that's the only time they really show the crows is like in that purgatory that I remember.
Oh, okay.
The ending, it's not very definitive because they wanted to make a sequel.
Okay.
What I was reading originally, they did one like a definitive ending, and if they'd done that, it would have been way better.
I heard the ending was, the action scene was amazing.
The action is amazing.
At the opera.
Yeah, that's the last half hour. If you guys just want to watch the last half hour of the movie and don't care about the plot, watch that last half hour.
Basically, I've heard other reviewers say that's when Skarsgård actually is the crow.
Yeah.
Is that last 30 minutes or so of the film.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, overall, I didn't do a good job explaining the plot, but overall, my feeling is I'd give it like a 6 or 7.
Okay.
But I went into it not expecting anything. Like I wasn't going into it thinking, oh, this is going to be, they're trying to do something against Brandon Lee, or like supposed to be a direct reboot, or
Yeah, the director says it's his vision, it's his reimagining.
Yeah.
Of the source material.
That's a good way to say it. It's a reimagining. If they would have just changed the characters' names, it would have jumped way up too.
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
But
it's not Eric and Shelley to me. I'm sorry. It's just
Well,
I know. I can't
see. That's the thing.
I can't help but compare it. I can't help doing that.
And
I can't help to do that.
Where it's getting a lot of its hate is because people's tying it like they're like, this is going to change. It's not going to change Brandon Lee's legacy.
No. Brandon Lee's legacy is cemented in his movie.
This is just Christian Bale to your Michael Keaton. Okay.
I feel, but in the look that they took with Skarsgård, I feel, and if you don't know, and I didn't know until I looked up a little bit more, other avatars of the Crow in the comic books, I feel like he resembles more of the Michael Corby character of the Crow, with the tats and the short hair and all that stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I know why they used Eric and Shelley, because that is what everybody knows.
Yeah.
And they felt if they used those names, it would get butts in the seats.
Yeah.
If they because I don't know, but I would say a majority of people that read the comic books have only read this. More than likely. I don't know for 100%, but more than likely. When you hear the Crow, they automatically think Eric and Shelley. They don't think of Michael Corby or the other characters in the other comic books. That's my feeling on it. I'm probably wrong. That's my feeling on it.
No, and plus you got to also think like younger people are going to see this where
They never seen the other film.
they never seen
They
the
may have
Brandon
never
Lee.
even read the comic book.
And we actually came across somebody who
We
was
did.
that way.
We did,
and
yeah.
This is his favorite movie.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and that's totally fine. Like I told you, it's not my saying, but the saying that I like to hear people say. You like what you like.
Yeah.
I don't have to like it. Sean liked it. If you want to go by the critics, according to Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 65% viewer rating, which is not bad.
That's actually pretty
That's
good.
middle of the road.
Yeah, that's exactly where I would put it,
It's
too.
middle of the road. So, yeah, you like what you like. I'm not going to shit on it. I aggravated Sean from the moment he watched it. But truthfully, I'm not going to shit on it. I've not seen it, so I can't do that. I may watch it when it streams.
I'd say, wait for it to come on streaming. Form your own opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't be a hater.
Yeah, no. Like I said, all my stuff was in jest. I'm not going to hate on it because I've not seen it.
Yeah.
So it's not proper for me to do that. It just looking at it, before I even watch it, just looking at it, I don't like what I saw just visually. Storytelling, I don't know. Storytelling may bring me back around. I don't know. But just visually, I'm not a fan of the look of the Crow.
I think once he gets into that theater scene and that look kind of fits it.
Okay.
So
I do like seeing him with the katana.
yeah, that's
I
pretty
like
badass.
seeing him with the katana in the trailers, yeah.
Like I used to have a problem with. I still have a problem with it. The guy that played the Joker in Suicide Squad.
Jared Leto.
Yeah, I didn't care for that look at all for Joker.
I hate that look.
Yeah, I didn't care the way he acted him.
I hate that look.
This doesn't feel like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's when they first showed it. I was like, that's what they're going
Because
with.
the tats
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah.
and just the look and everything.
But see, that's before I knew of the Michael Corby character, and you showed me that. You introduced me to that version. I'm like, that's what that is.
Yeah,
That's they took the look of Michael Corby and put Eric's name on him.
that's a good one.
Is what they did.
It's like, let's take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and no matter what they have done, nobody was going to be happy.
No, because like another podcast said, people they cherish the Brandon Lee one, and that's totally fine. I cherish it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love this '89 comic book, and I've got a paperback coming in the mail hopefully tomorrow. But it's not right for me or for a lot of people. Well, see, I can't say that. I can't speak for people. Don't hate it because of just what you see. Go watch it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not going to hate it. I'm not going to judge it because I have not seen the film. My feelings just come from visuals. I prefer the visuals of what I've seen, and even in the other films. But yeah, people hold stuff precious. I get that. I do that with what I love, Transformers. You do
But it's
that
easy
with
to get
various
in that
things.
mindset. It's like, well, fuck that.
It's hard not to.
Like Hugh Jackman.
Damn it, no. It's hard not to. I get that. But there
Yeah.
are fans out there that take it to an extreme that make us as fans look bad, get lumped into those toxic fans.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that take it to the extreme that is not necessary.
Yeah.
Name calling and threats, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
If you don't like the film,
Just don't watch it.
Yeah, don't watch it. If you do go watch it and you still hate the film, then give good reasons why. Was it shot terribly? Was the cinematography bad? Was the acting bad? Was the CG bad? Don't just say, I hated it because FKA Twigs. I hated it just because Bill Skarsgård don't look in him, but I'm not hating it because of that. It just doesn't turn my light on because of the way he looks. Again, when I watch the film, the story may turn my light back on the right way. I don't know.
I think I also think, how many times have they done Batman with different people?
Exactly.
Same
That's
origin
true.
story.
That's true.
Same names.
You can say that they didn't take a drastic turn with the way Batman looked and stuff. And I think the drastic turn in his appearance is what has shocked people with this movie.
Yeah, I'd say that's right.
Because again, I don't think people know the other versions of the Crow. I think they only know Brandon Lee's version of the Eric character from the '89 comic book. They don't know the Michael Corby version. They don't know the Dead Time version or the Karari version or any of the other ones. I don't think they know that. Mm-hmm. They automatically look and say, "Well, you're fucking up our Crow. You're disrespecting Brandon Lee." No, they're not disrespecting Brandon Lee.
I think a large part of that is just because Brandon Lee died on it. Had he not, I don't think anybody cared because he would still be around and he'd be like, that's just not my thing.
I don't want to say his death made the movie more than what it would have been if he hadn't died, but I think it did. It did up it in cult love for sure. But I love the film. Honestly, if I take that out of it, I think I would say I would still love that movie no matter, even if he was alive.
Oh, same.
Because it's a great movie. It's shot well. Whether you shit on the CG or you shit on the acting, and there's a podcast that did that, and I hate them. But the movie is shot beautiful. The miniatures they use for the buildings is beautiful.
The effects is great.
The only effects that I thought was bad was the fire. You could tell it was fake fire, like at the beginning of the film.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, it's shot beautifully. The music, again, like you said, is beautiful. I love the music.
Music's awesome.
I think the acting is great. And all the people, the acting is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, like I said, the acting in this movie may be great. I love Danny Houston, the villain, in other films. Skarsgård was even in a John Wick movie. He was the main villain in John Wick 4.
Yeah.
And John Wick fucked him up. So Skarsgård's a great actor.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking anything away from Skarsgård whatsoever. I don't know anything about FKA Twigs.
I'd say she was probably the weakest link to me.
I think she's like a British singer or something, maybe. I don't know.
I think that's right. Yeah. We're not culturally.
Oh, I don't know. I'll admit that right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I don't keep up with the new kids.
yeah, no. So overall, you would give it about a 6.5 out of 10?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it, especially like I said, I wasn't like tying it to anything. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to see this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And honestly, if they take the Crow's name off of it altogether and made it just like its own superhero, it would have been an awesome franchise.
Yeah. And I that's what I'm going to try to do. When I watch it, I'm going to just take away the best I can. Take away my attachments to The Crow.
Yeah.
And just watch it as a film.
That's about the way you have to do it on that one.
And judge it on the story, judge it on the acting, and just see from there how I feel about it. And I'll let you listeners know how I feel whenever it does come out the stream, which unfortunately probably won't be that long because the box office is not done too well. On a $50 million budget, I think it's only made $11 million. So it's not going to be in theaters probably much longer.
It'll probably make more money streaming.
It's a very good chance. Very good chance it could make more money streaming, for sure.
Yeah. All right. I believe we're not going to do questions this week because we've talked so long about everything else.
Yeah.
And I already know that your answer to your favorite one.
Yeah.
I'd say I'd put the new one second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
City of Angels is pretty good, so they might be tied for me. But we're going to end this episode. I do a guitar cover of the guitar solo in the '94 movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Inferno, so we'll end the episode with that this time.
Yeah, it's beautiful too, man. It's a great cover.
But until then, what are we going to do next time, Dan?
Next episode, we are going to cover Green Lantern, Emerald Twilight, 1994. It's technically only 3 issues, but there is a 4th one that kind of links in there that we're going to take. It's a Reign of the Superman tie-in issue, and it's the one where Hal Jordan goes nuts, loses, kind of goes evil, and he becomes Parallax. So for all you Green Lantern fans out there, which I'm one of them, that'll be our next episode on the Geeks with Beard podcast. And until then, it can't rain all the time. Goodbye, everybody.
See you.
Because we do not know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well. And yet everything happens only a certain number of times, and a very small number, really. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood, an afternoon that is so deeply a part of your being that you can't even conceive of your life without it? Perhaps 4 or 5 times more, perhaps not even that. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20. And yet it all seems limitless.